a simple version of Say by John Mayer. We'll go through the chords used throughout the song so that we're familiar and comfortable with using them, and then move into how the song is played, step by step, verse by verse, nice and slow together. Now the first thing you want to do before you start playing guitar is to be sure that your guitar is in tune. Now I suggest using a digital tuner so that you can get into perfect tuning. Today's song is played in standard tuning, but we're going to actually place our capo onto our 3rd fret. And when we get into the chords, I'll show you how to put the capo on, and then we'll go from there. Another good thing to do before you start playing is to cut your fingernails nice and short. This will allow you to press down onto the strings a little bit easier and will avoid any unnecessary muting or buzzing of the strings while you're playing your chords. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to number our fingers so that when I explain to you which finger to put where on the neck, you'll know exactly what I mean. So finger number 1 is our index finger, finger number 2, middle finger number 3 is our ring finger, and finger number 4 is your pinky. Now let's move into the chords used throughout the song. Okay, so as I said, we're going to use our capo onto our 3rd fret. So we'll get you to put the capo on the 3rd fret. It's good to try and get it in the middle of the fret and make sure that it's straight so that you have even pressure on all the strings. Another good thing I like to do is to look at the guitar like this so that you can see that all the strings are not being bent, okay? Because if you have a bent string because of your capo, it'll make your chords sound a little off, okay? So John Mayer plays this song Say, and we're going to actually use a simple version of it, and we're only going to use 6 chords, okay? So we're going to use a 4-finger G, we're going to use a C add 9, we're going to use an E minor 7, and we're going to use a D. Now that's for the verse, which is pretty much the whole song. Now don't worry, we're going to go into each one of these in an individual. And after the D, we're going to learn what's called an A7, which we're going to use during the chorus. Okay? Now let's go into that 4-finger G in detail.
The next chord is a G major, or what I like to call a 4-finger G, where all 4 fingers are used.
Okay, so the reason that we're going to use a 4-finger G is because this will give us a root note that we're never actually going to stop playing, which is going to be the 3rd fret of the B string with our 3rd finger. Okay? That finger's never going to move, and that's why we're going to use these types of chords instead of a 3-finger G, which will be played like this. Okay? We're going to use this 4-finger G, plays like this. So how we play this is we take finger number 1, and we place it onto the 2nd fret. Now I'm saying the 2nd fret, which is actually the 5th fret, but because I'm referring off where we have our capo. So our capo is 0, then 1, 2, and 3, okay? So, finger number 1 is going to go onto the 2nd fret of the A string. Finger number 2 is going to go onto the 3rd fret of the big E string. Okay? And then our fingers number 3 and 4 are going to come down here beside each other. Our finger 3 will be on the 3rd fret of the B string. And our finger number 4 is going to be onto the 3rd fret of the high E string. So altogether, our 4-finger G should sound like this. Okay, now we're going to move into the C add 9, and I'll show you why our finger number 3 doesn't move.
C add 9 uses the same structure as a G major chord and also uses all 4 fingers.
Okay, so from the form of our 4-finger G, what we're going to do is our finger number 3 and 4 are going to stay put on the 3rd fret of the B and the high E. Now, this form we have here on the A and E, all we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 fingers, we're going to lift them up, and we're going to move them down so that they're going to go onto the D, our 1st finger on the 2nd fret, D string, and then our 3rd finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the A string. Okay? And then we play it like so. That's our C add 9. Now, again, these fingers are going to stay put. Now we're going to move into the E minor 7, and I'll show you how that works.
The E minor 7 chord is similar to the E minor chord, except it uses 4 fingers.
Okay, so the E minor 7, we're already in the C add 9 shape. Now what we're going to do to play the E minor 7, like I said, finger number 3 and 4 are not going to move, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to lift up finger number 1 and 2. We're going to place finger number 1 onto the 2nd fret of the A string, and then finger number 2 is going to go right below it onto the 2nd fret of the D string. Okay? And then we play all the strings, and it should sound like so for the E minor 7. Alright? The next one we're going to learn is a D chord.
The next chord, D, uses only 3 fingers.
Okay, So from our E minor 7, again, what I told you was at the beginning, our third finger is never going to leave this note here for the verse, which is the 3rd fret on the B, okay? So when we move from our E minor 7 to our D, all we're going to do is we're going to lift finger number 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, 4, sorry. Finger number 3 is going to stay down. And then we're going to form our D chord by taking finger number 1, placing it onto the 2nd fret of the G string, and then finger number 2 we're going to place onto the 2nd fret of the high E string. Okay? And this will form our D chord. Now the next one we're going to learn is called an A minor 7.
The A minor 7 is almost identical to the A minor chord, except only uses 2 fingers.
Okay, so the A minor 7 is going to be the only chord that deviates from those first 4 chords that we learned. Okay? So our A minor 7 is going to be, our finger number 1 is going to be placed onto the 1st fret of the B string, and then finger number 2 is going to come down here onto the 2nd fret of the D string. Okay? And that's all. Just like that. Nothing else down. And it should sound like that. Okay? Now this chord is only used in the bridge, which the bridge is the only other part of the song that's different besides the verse. Okay? Now let's move into how the song's played. Okay, so because this is a beginner version, we're actually not going to get into the picking today. We'll go over that in an intermediate and our advanced video. Okay? So basically, the chord progression is going to be exactly the way I explain the chords. So we're going to have our 4-finger G, move to our C add 9. Notice that these fingers don't move, okay? These ones down here, number 3 and 4. Then to our E minor 7, and then to our D. Notice, finger number 3 never moves, okay? It's only going to move when I teach you the bridge, okay? So in regular time, the progression will sound like this. Okay? It's not very fast, but what we'll do is, here on the count of 3, we're going to go over these nice and slow together, okay? So, if you follow along with me, remember, 4-finger G, C add 9, E minor 7, then a D. Okay? Now let's play that nice and slow together here on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. C add 9, E minor 7, D, G, C add 9, E minor 7, D. Okay? You notice that the transition from the first G to the C add 9 is a little bit longer, and then what he does is he strums on the C add 9 a little bit longer before he switches to the E minor 7. And then a little bit less time from the E minor 7 to the D. So let's do that one more time, guys, together on the count of 3. Nice and slow. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Back to the G. To the C add 9. To the E minor 7. To the D. Okay? Now what I'm doing here is when I'm playing that D chord, now if you want, it's a little bit more intermediate, if you'd like, when you're playing your D chord, to go back into the 4-finger G, you can put this 4th finger down early. And it kind of sounds like so. And then that puts these number 3 and 4 finger, it already puts them in place for when you switch from your D back to your G. Okay? So again in real time it sounds like this. Okay? Give that some practice, guys. Rewind the video and go through it again. And for now, we're going to move in to the bridge. Alright, so the bridge is where we're going to use our A minor 7, okay? Now the first chord of the bridge is actually the A minor 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to change from the last chord of the verse, which is going to be the D, and then go right into the A minor 7. So from this form, we're going to have to bring finger number 1 down here to the first fret of that B, and then take finger number 2 and go down to the second fret of the D, okay? And there's our A minor 7, okay? Now the bridge is going to consist of an A minor 7, C add 9, and a D. Okay? Now he goes through this, I think, 2 times, and then he changes the chord progression, and I'm going to explain to you how he does this. Okay? So in regular time, the first part of the chord progression is going to sound like this. Now remember, A minor 7, C add 9, D. And it should sound like this. Okay, so he plays it 3 times. Now we're going to go through this part first, nice and slow together, and then we'll do the second part, which is the ending of the verse, or the bridge, I'm sorry. Okay, so on the count of 3, we'll start on the A minor 7, then move into the C add 9, and then to the D. Now the changes between these ones are a little bit slower. He stays on each chord for a little bit longer, unlike the verse where he goes from the G to the C add 9 a little quicker. So this one should be a little bit easier to pick up, okay? So here we go, on the count of 3, A minor 7, C add 9, D, okay? 1, 2, 3. C add 9, D, A minor 7, C add 9 to the D. One more time. A minor 7, C add 9, and to the D. Okay? Now we'll move into the next part, which finishes off the bridge, and then we move back into the chorus, or the verse, and then we're pretty much finished. Okay, so after playing that part 3 times, we end off on the D, okay? Just like we do in the verse, we end off on the D again. Now what he does now is he goes backwards. Instead of going back to the A minor 7, he goes from the D to the C add 9, and then back to the D. It's pretty simple, it's not complicated. So he basically goes from the D, C add 9, back to D. And it should sound like this. And I'll start with the last part of the D. I'll play the whole D part. So it should sound like this. Really simple, okay? So again, finishing off on the D, this is how we'll go through it so that we connect the two. And back to the D. Just let it ring. He only hits the D once on the end. And then he goes back into the regular verse, which was the G, C add 9, E minor 7, D. Okay? So let's play that together nice and slow. Now like I said, so we connect them. We're going to start on the D, we're going to finish off there, and then move into the C add 9, and then back to the D. Okay? On the count of 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3. C add 9. Back to the D. Okay? Now the whole thing together should sound like this. Okay? I'll just do this part once with the A minor 7, C add 9, D, just so we can go through it instead of me playing the whole thing. But then we're going to go back and we'll play the whole thing together. So it should sound like so. okay? Now don't forget, the A minor 7, C add 9, D is played 3 times, okay? At the 3rd time, when you finish on the D, that's when we go back to the C add 9 and then finish on the D, okay? Now let's play that, the whole thing together, from the A minor 7, C add 9, D, and then we'll pretend that it's the 3rd time, then go right into the C add 9, and then back to the D, and let the D ring out. You just have to strum it once, okay? So here we go, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. C add 9, D, C add 9. Now back to the D. And that's it. Hey everyone, great job learning Say by John Mayer. If you enjoyed this video and it helped you, don't forget to check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again for watching, guys, and have a great one.